gets. Thank you for being here.
You're welcome. I'm Jimbo Lovestar.
I'm Cole with Sisters of Camelot.
I'm Princess Titus, one of the co-founders of Appetite for Change.
Okay, welcome again. Thank you for being here. Today we talk about the power of the food, and really the food has a lot of power in the health, in the people, in the change. You want to tell me about this idea. Thank you.
I'll start. So food is power. I believe that food has the power to bring people together across cultures, across socioeconomical separations and zip codes and things that we celebrate. I think food is the tie that binds us. We saw amidst the pandemic where everyone had a concern about there only being 3 days worth of groceries in the grocery store. And so I think food is also a way that people can share their culture and meet with other people and respect other people's culture as a way of participating in an art. And food fuels your work. So whatever work you're involved in, everybody has to eat. And I believe that our demographic at Appetite for Change, when we're serving people in North Minneapolis, truly our demographic is real people, real food for real people. And food has the power to give you ideas like that.
I can pick up on that. I know a woman named Rose McGee. She's been baking sweet potato pies for a long, long time. And in 2014, her son, who was documenting the riots in Ferguson, Missouri, asked her to bring some sweet potato pies to Ferguson. And the way she explains it is that in the black community, the sweet potato pie is considered something of a sacrament. So she brought 24 sweet potato pies in refrigerated containers to Ferguson, and she walked between the police and the protesters and sought out the young leaders and would take each one aside and offer him or her a sweet potato pie. And that person would say, "Are you serious? You're going to give me that sweet potato pie?" She'd say, "With one condition. You will not lead or participate in violence." And she said that after that day, when she tells the story, she says that the tension went way down in Ferguson, Missouri.
Yeah, it's a powerful story. I think it's kind of literal. Food just is power. We can't exist without it. And in my experience, I grew up in a kitchen with a chef for a mother, which I feel like is a very privileged existence, especially because she was a Whole Foods advocate. I resent the fact that the store Whole Foods has taken that term because because it's such a perfect way of saying kind of what it is that we can be doing is keeping our food whole, and it makes people whole to have good quality food. And that's how I grew up, and I've been feeding people for my whole life because of the way that I had such a intact sort of sense of what nutrition was through food. And so I don't think there's a more powerful way to address. I mean, there's lots of angles, but food just literally is power, I think. It's how we go about our day, and there's a lot of ways to do it. It's a big spectrum, but I don't think there's a right or wrong way, but definitely together.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for this introduction. Now we have started with these questions. My partner, Kel, you want to say this question?
Can you share a story about a time you saw food create positive change in someone's life?
Thank you.
I'll start. So in 2012, I connected with Latasha Powell and Michelle Horvitz, and we wanted to do something about the foodscape in North Minneapolis. And instead of us coming and saying, hey, poor people or black people, eat more vegetables, like why are you eating this fast food? We cooked and ate and talked with the community about the change that they wanted to see. That trauma-informed nutrition model of bringing people together, using food as the power to bring people together, like you just said, called to connect, actually created a ripple between those 400 community members. 14 years later, here we are. We've had a restaurant. We've launched a cookbook. And I think about each young person that came and planted tomatoes or tasted a tomato that grew from our farm, like their lives were changed. So the young people that we worked with through some of our programming, Community Cooks, Urban Ag, and then we have these youth that we're training to grow and cook food. I remember seeing one of those young men and saying, hey, if you can help me move my apartment, you know, I'll take you to Taco Bell. And he was like, I'm like, what do you mean? You can buy any restaurant food you want because we're not at Appetite for Change anymore. And he's like, I don't eat like that. So that's really, I think, when we train our young people, like the work that you're doing. You know, the youth are the truth. We believe that at Appetite for Change, it was declared by young people. And to see the change in their lives after they've planted a seed and grown it and served it to their community and prepared it or cooked it and consumed it, that change is just irreversible.
Yeah, thank you. Who wanna go?
I don't think that a day goes by where I don't see food making a positive change. I think every single day I watch the way that I relate to food, the way I feed my kids, the way that I work for several organizations who provide warm food to unhoused folks. And just like every day, that's what's happening. And so I don't see every single moment that somebody's able to access good nutritional food. It's just, it is like what makes it so that we can keep going. And that's just every single day.
I think that food changed my mother's life. Like Cole's mom, my mom was big into whole foods. She lived in the suburbs of Chicago, so organic foods were pretty hard to find in the 1970s. I came home from college and I had learned how to cook dal, that is with lentils, and chapatis. So I said, do you mind if I cook dinner tonight? She said, not at all. I was vegetarian at the time, and I wasn't evangelistic about it. I just thought she might enjoy it. So I made some chapatis and cooked up some lentils, and she was puzzled. What's that? However, when I served it, she said, ooh, that's what that is. And the next time I came to visit her, she cooked it for me. And I said, so, are you vegetarian? She said, no, but I eat less meat than I used to.
Yeah, I love how you have stories about the food, and the food staying every day, who you say. I think that's true. And thank you for your answer. We get talking with this question. Can you share? No, my bad. How do you balance making healthy food accessible while respecting cultural tradition and preference? I'll read again. How do you balance making healthy food accessible while respecting cultural traditions and preference? Thank you.
I would like to say, well, we have one line when we're cooking, eating, and talking, and it's, you don't have to like it, but you've got to try it. And so at Community Cooks, we give people opportunities to try leeks, because usually somebody will say, I don't like leeks. And we're like, You don't know leeks, right? And so also not judging what people eat. So even if I don't eat red meat and I'm cooking a meal, let's just say if I'm doing walk-in tacos with a community, because who doesn't love a good walk-in taco, right? Or we can say fried chicken, or all those things that are stereotyped to certain cultures. We like food and we want it to be good. And so if we're doing a walk-in taco, then I'll add like a blue corn tortilla along with the Doritos. I'll make a plant-based sour cream to show people how easy it is to make a condiment and have it not be dairy or cruel, if I can make it uncruel, right? And to use like purple cabbage and lettuce and real jalapenos and tomatoes from a farm without pesticides and chemicals to top that walk-in taco. And then, yeah, give them the ground beef and the ground turkey as an option, because some people may need ground beef for iron, for their blood. Like certain people have to eat to sustain a body, not to just keep up a stereotype of a culture. And then let them slather it in cheese, because it don't go down easy if it ain't cheesy, I've heard. So just meeting people where they are, knowing that you're not making a one-size-fits-all shoe or one-size-fits-all meal, and introducing more vegetables, the colors of them, and asking people how they feel after they eat it. And you don't have to like it, but you have to try it. You have to almost try it twice. Because the first time you try something new, your brain's going to go, no. And then you're like, okay, now that we know your brain has nowhere to put that information because it's new information. Now let's try it and let you experience it and see how your body feels after you crunch into that purple cabbage on that walk-in taco. And then ask people later on how they feel about it and see if they've introduced those new things and celebrate those successes.
Oh, that's beautiful. You know, growing up in America as a white man, I've come to realize that I'm expected as a white man to know what the answer is. And so I tend to, and I think a lot of white men do this, tend to go into a situation and just assume that these Hmong people or these Somali people or these indigenous people will like what I'm serving. And what I've come to learn is, no, they don't have to like what I'm serving. But if I want to be sensitive to the way that they eat, I can go beforehand, do some planning, and talk with the folks and say, what fits for you? Which is, well, I like doing this anyway. It's a betrayal of white masculinity. I like betraying white masculinity. The whole white masculine thing in America is a lie.
Without a doubt. I think that my favorite practice is that what I've discovered as I've gotten older and watched people feel lots of different ways about different kinds of food from different places my whole life. I was very fortunate because my mother's from France and my dad was a Vietnam vet and a world traveler kind of person. So I was introduced to different foods from different places from the get, and I feel like they did me a favor by doing that. And it also just made me understand that people eat different things in different places, and I think my cardinal sort of rule for myself personally, after lots of battles with eating disordery kind of thinking and all these different awarenesses that I've grown over time, is that how I feel when I'm eating is actually more important than what I'm eating. That's the order for me personally. And so I always want to create a feeling wherever food's being eaten and made that just feels good. I want everybody to feel good when they're making it. I want to feel good when I'm thinking about making it. I want it to be about feeling good. And so that's first. And then obviously it's nice to be able to consider the quality of things and the nutrition of things. And but I think it's less important than how we all feel when we're eating. So that's my take on that.
Yeah, that's Okay. What are the first steps someone can take if they want to use food to make a difference in their community?
I would say cook and eat and talk with your community. We launched the viral video, Grow Food. And so we had young people in North Minneapolis rapping to a really good beat about how they felt like growing food was important, and they wanted to get that message out to young people who look like them across America or across the globe. And so a lot of people reached out to us and was like, well, how'd you do this? And what should we do in our community? And I'm like, cook and eat and ask. Like you were just saying, and Jimbo, you were just saying, go ahead of it and ask the people. They're going to have a different set of issues. They're going to have excited a different set of resiliency, and they're going to have different needs. And so cooking and eating and having that conversation, even cook and eat and talk at home with your family. Amidst COVID, when we couldn't have community cooks with community, we were sending meal boxes into people's homes so that they could cook and eat and talk with their family. And the type of social sustenance that comes from that. Is that what you're saying, where you're feeling good about it when it's happening? I think that's a good place to start.
I remember well, Princess. I remember well. But you and your team served the community during the pandemic, during the worst of the pandemic. The pandemic is still alive. One could walk up to their headquarters, Appetite for Change, and encounter a table piled high with boxed lunches, food that they had prepared in their kitchen and were giving out free. That's called introducing the good food into the community. Brilliant.
Yeah, I always marvel because I'm 46 years old, and I grew up in a time where you couldn't just know things. You know what I mean? Like, if you didn't have an Encyclopedia Britannica because your family couldn't afford one, then you didn't get to know about whatever was in those books. And then you went to school where also they don't really, information was scarce in a way that it is not anymore. And nowadays, I just encourage anybody, especially young people, like at any moment in time, most people, even if you don't have your own phone or your own computer, you can go to a library and you can use computers, and that's just one way. I'm Googling spices and where they come from, and I'm asking Siri all day long, like, what's the ratio to cook buckwheat, or what, it's so easy now to actually get information about how it is that we can use food to make our own personal differences in our own personal lives, and then obviously reaching out directly. I know with our organization, with Sisters Camelot, you can just send an email to us, and if you had any idea about something that you wanted to do, start a garden, have a meal at a garden, we can drive our bus over there, we have a kitchen, there's just a lot of ways in which networking can happen through just actually reaching out to the people around you. There's gardens. Minneapolis, this area, I'm from a lot of places, and I just want to tell everyone here, I don't know if everybody here is from a lot of places too, but you guys have it good. There's a lot of really powerful, really connected work going on across the cities, and the amount of gardens and the amount of organizations that are looking out for people here is unprecedented. I've never seen it anywhere in this country, and I've been everywhere. It's incredible. So nobody has an excuse here besides, obviously there's a lot of excuses for why you can't do whatever in a day, but it's reach out.
Yes, wonderful. Kyle?
How does the power of food go beyond just nutrition to impact communities and society?
Thank you.
Well, when we said we cooked and talked, and we cooked and ate and talked about social change, the foodscape was one conversation piece. And then it was the number of SROs in high schools. And then it was why didn't children get free and reduced lunch every day if they have to eat in order to be taught. And then it was when the Jamar Clark was shot. And then it was the transit changes. And so using food as a community organizing tool, being that it's trauma-informed nutrition, people it creates a trusting environment. You cook something that's good, and so you have that success. So I believe that food can lead beyond to nutrition and being something that can move and organize people. And it's different from having a conversation, doing a survey, and serving a meal to be cooking a meal and talking about the issue that you want to see change.
Oh, you're singing my song.
You know me?
As usual, princess. I just love you.
I know, thank you.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. You know, there's a growing body of research that says the more time we spend with people just listening, just connecting, especially with people who care about us, people who, if you're 10 minutes late, will be calling your cell phone saying, "Where are you, baby? Where are you okay?" So the more time we spend with people like that, the more our immune systems become strong. Spending time with other human beings strengthens our immune systems. And to the extent that food provides an avenue for that, I am in.
I personally feel a sense of that everything is connected. So that's just how kind of anything goes beyond whatever it is. So to me, the fact that if attention and awareness is being brought to kind of anything, like it has a ripple effect in my experience. And so I think that when people get together and create experiences together, it always has an effect on the surrounding areas. So much conclusive evidence out there about that. There's not, just anything we're doing, just like we're doing right now. This is like a cohesive thing. Everybody here chose to be here. We were asked to come, and we were told, why, and here we are doing a thing on purpose, and so I feel like anything we do on purpose is going to do that, and that's how everything goes beyond whatever this moment is, and I feel that way about food as well.
Yeah, thank you. How do you see food connecting to mental health and emotional well-being? I think they have really connecting, because if today I go to my home and I don't eat my dinner, I'm bad, for any reason. The food have a very importance in everything. Thank you.
Mental health and well-being and emotional well-being, I want to say, when we're talking to people about what they're eating, there's some of the food that is in our community in North Minneapolis. There's 38 fast food restaurants up and down the corridor of West Broadway. And maybe it's 37, but last time the young people checked, it was still way too many. And so for young people to start to ask those questions and to have that metacognitive experience where they're saying, is this food here because we eat it, or do we eat it because it's here? Is the type of thinking about your thinking that has to happen before that change happens. But the internal environment has to be one of real food in order for that thinking to take place. Or the body is just habit, and it wants the sugar, and it wants the I want some fried chicken. There's not a minute in my life that I don't want fried chicken with hot sauce. But listening also to my body when I eat fried chicken and hot sauce, like listening to when the body says no, right? And also knowing emotionally, what am I eating for? Am I eating to comfort myself? Am I eating to feed my emotions because of my grief? Am I eating to feed my blood because of my anemia? Am I eating to grow my brain because of my headaches? So I think there's a place of power each person can come from if they look at food like that around mental health and emotional well-being.
Yeah, this is a big one. I think anyone can relate to the feeling of scarcity, and that feeling of scarcity just is a fundamental groundwork for all sorts of things that we don't want to have happen in our lives. It's kind of the root of almost all things that go wrong, is that we just aren't getting the things that we need, let alone want. A lot of the time, I think the vast majority of, people born in the world, we all try as hard as we can to give all the things. I have 3 kids, and I did everything I could, to provide for them, and that doesn't mean that was what they needed. And so I feel like food is such an essential component to our everyday life, and so if we feel scarcity around food, it can really be detrimental to people's ability to function on every level. And so I feel like they're just so intimately connected, in my opinion. Mental health and not feeling scarcity around food. I've felt scarcity around food. I still feel scarcity around food, and I'm around 50-pound boxes of 100,000-pound box. I mean, millions of blueberries, organic. I mean, I'm around so much food every single day, all day, and I still have that feeling because it has to do with our upbringing and kind of what happened when we were younger and all those things. And so to me, there is such a deep connection between mental health and food safety.
Well said, Cole. Whew. Yeah, I grew up in a working poor family in Ohio, and often went to bed hungry. And so I also struggle with that whole food scarcity thing, and have big time issues about food still after all these years. Yep.
Thank you. Now, I listen every answer. I think in my mind, it's incredible how you have a different impact in the food. I mean, Mr. Jimbo is the founder, the Institute for Men's Health and Well-Being, called Depierre Sisters Camelot, kitchenbus coordinator, and Princess Titus is Appetite for Change and Standard Edition Woman co-founder. And that's very good, that's incredible. Thank you for being here again. Okay.
Thank you.
We give with my next question is, how can families and communities work together to encourage healthier eating habits? Thank you.
How can families and communities come together to encourage healthier eating habits? Sharing a vegetable, trying a vegetable. I want to say just starting there, and thinking about it. As you were saying, we have access to everything now at our fingertips to be beneficial for us. So I want to say, instead of like swiping TikTok and getting a recipe, like pick a veggie, go in the grocery store and just look at something that's pretty and pick it, like sorrel. I just bought it and was like, oh, this is so pretty. And then I Googled it, like, what's this for? And it actually was, whatever the health benefits were, was exactly what I needed at that moment. So listening to your body and dispelling the myth that there's not time to cook. Coming from a studio in St. Paul, from Princess Titus, you probably watch more cooking shows than it takes you time to cook a meal. I'm not going to say in 30 minutes you can cook the meal, but in 30 minutes in my house we cook the meal. We don't get the dishes done, but the meal is prepared in 30 minutes, whether it's a soup or a stir fry, or we've shredded some beets and shredded some carrots and cut some cucumbers and diced up some cherries and sprinkled it all on top of some salad and made some dressing with some vinegar and some olive oil with some garlic and some salt and pepper. There, look, there's a salad. So dispel the myth, get in the kitchen with your children and allow them to help, because that's gonna fuel the future.
You call me, I'll come do your dishes if you feed me a salad. Uh-huh. Get those dishes done. You know, I think it's as simple as listening to the children and saying, what are you looking for? And really being patient. You got to take the time, like Princess says, you got to take the time. But yeah, if we listen to the little ones, listen to each other, we can figure out how our families and communities can encourage healthy eating.
Yeah, I love sort of uncovering like how it is that various things that you buy that are processed in a store. I love doing a process with my kids where, like, marshmallows, for instance, you know, as a good example, like, you can make marshmallows, you know, and like anything that is on a shelf, people can make in their house and is going to be better than whatever's on the shelf. And so I love encouraging, like, as sort of a way of everybody getting together. I do a segment with my kids on Instagram, and it's called Newsday Tuesday, and I was having a hard time writing it because it's a comedy news sketch, and it's hard. And so one day I was like, okay, kids, it's up to you today. And they decided they wanted to look at what day it was. There's a holiday every day. Every day in the world, there's holidays. They're everywhere, all over. And you can go online, you can be like, what's today's holiday? And that day was Maple Syrup Day, International Maple Syrup Day. And my kids were like, let's make crepes. And I was like, all right. And so we did, you know, as just a family activity, we just made crepes and had maple syrup on them and then filmed it. And it was great. And so, like, anything like that, you know, any way that people can use it as a way to connect with each other.
Can I do your dishes?
No, but you can come eat anyway.
Yeah, thank you. I have one question for you. Tell me about how you started your kitchen bus.
So, Sisters Camelot, I'm the newest person with Sisters Camelot. Everybody on the collective right now has been there for 6 years or less, and Sisters Camelot's been doing what it's doing since '97. So it's kind of a unique time right now, and I'm brand new to the collective. I'm not brand new to feeding people out of a bus at all. I had my own bus. And so what we do with Sisters Camelot at the kitchen bus is we predominantly, from May through November, we provide generally a meal a week. Most of the time it's at a George Floyd Square, or has been, but that's part of why they brought me on, is because what I'm trying to do is, because they have access to food all year round, I'm trying to branch out from just doing only the one meal in the kitchen bus. And so hopefully the kitchen bus will be more mobile, go more places. We want to be able. It's a full service kitchen. Essentially, that's what it is. It's a beautiful full service kitchen.
Yeah.
It drives, and we provide food out of it. And George Floyd Square is the main place that we've done that, but we look forward this year to doing it more places. And right now we're also doing a community meal at the New City Center for Healing Justice on Thursdays from 6 to 8. It's the old Walker Church, so it's on 31st between Bloomington and 16th.
Okay.
That's free. Everybody can come. We also cook for encampment simultaneously. But the kitchen bus is very special because this particular iteration of the kitchen bus that we have right now, we got in 2012. And so it's been doing its thing since then. Sisters Camelot has gone through many evolutions over time. Right now, it's pretty fun. It's a really great group of people, and we're looking forward to kind of branching out from just doing only one meal a week to being able to coordinate with people and doing more community work and driving the bus more places. And the thing about Sisters Camelot is we're a volunteer-run organization. There's nobody making any money on what we do. We 100% are grant and donation funded, and everybody who does all the work they do with Sisters Camelot is a volunteer. Every single thing, every distribution, every meal, everything is volunteer run. So whenever people reach out to us, people ask all the time for things to happen, and we always respond as quick as we can, but sometimes because we're volunteer run, it's not always as quickly as we want it to be, but we're always looking for people to join up, and it's really fun. We have a really good time because the priority with Sisters Camelot always is, first of all, collective decision making. And so every decision that gets made for every food distribution we do and every meal we do is we talk to each other. What's happening? Who wants to do what? And how is everybody? And so yeah, we're it's growing. It's growing and getting cooler and cooler. We kick it off on May Day. The bus kicks off on May Day at the May Day parade, and then it closes down at Bare Bones. That's kind of the classic season, and we will be changing that a little bit, but we feed a lot of people during those events, thousands and thousands of people. I had my first one. This Bare Bones was my first Sisters Camelot iconic moment, and we fed many thousands. It's pretty great. Yeah.
How do you get the food that you serve to people?
Yeah, we get it from distribution centers, so we rescue food.
Like from warehouses, you mean?
Yeah, from UNFI, from co-op partners. Basically, we drive a big box truck around on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and the person who's driving the box truck backs it up to those. Basically, it's food that would have gone to supermarkets, organic food, predominantly organic food that would have gone to supermarkets, but when the date is kind of close, they can't really send it to a supermarket. And it's not, a lot of what we get isn't particularly bad, it's just that it's of a date that isn't ideal for sale, and so we end up getting, kind of a wild assortment of things, to be honest. But and that's the other thing about Sisters is that it's like an improv job. We just go, okay, it's Tuesday. What's on the menu today? We just make it up as we go along. So we don't really use recipes. We kind of loosely do, but that's how we get most of our food, and donations from farms. So
do you mean that if you didn't load up that food in the box truck or in the food bus,
it'd be in the trash.
It would be in the trash. It would go to waste.
It would 100% be in dumpsters, trash compactors. Yeah, it's atrocious. And so that's one of the coolest things about any food rescue is that, like, that food, there's nothing wrong with it. The vast majority of what we get is really good quality organic produce. It's beautiful. And so, yeah, it would be in the trash otherwise.
Thank you for your answer. Okay, this question is for everyone. How do you see the future of food systems being shaped by the next generation?
Well, right now we're in the first, or is it the second year of Healthy, Hungry, Free Schools. And so the work that has came from the state of Minnesota, Metro Food Justice Network, people like Latasha Powell, Devon Nolan, I could continue to name, all of the people who were, some people say boots on the ground. I'm going to say hands in the soil. Hands in the soil with young people, having conversations with them about how do you eat lunch. And one young man was like, I eat my lunch in the line because when I'm done, I'm going to put my number in and it's not going to work. And it's like, well, how do you eat a whole sandwich before you take a step and eat a salad, before you take a step and eat a fruit tray, before you take a step and drink a milk? Because they'll say you're stealing if you take from the sharing tray. And so that was 2015, we started to have those conversations with young people. And now to have Healthy, Hungry, Free Schools passed in the state of Minnesota where all children are getting free breakfast and lunch because they have to eat to be ready to be taught, right? Now we're looking at, and I think when laws get passed, we have to have that reflective time. So we have to go back and look and see, how is this working for our people? Are children eating it? Is it the food? Is it, now that we've removed the barrier and they have access, now we get to look a little deeper. So I do think that that's how food is being shaped by the next generation. Because if you know how to cook your own food, then let's teach you to grow. If you know how to cook and grow, then let's engage you in policy and advocacy behind making sure your foodscape reflects your cultures and your needs.
Princess covered it all that I could say. Did you have anything, Cole?
Yeah, it's tough. I that's pretty much it. I mean, I would just add that we're in a post-industrial age where, I mean, I guess I don't know if it's post-industrial because it's industrial, period, I guess. I don't know what you call it. But either way, most things have been turned into factories. Most processes are done in factories. The vast majority of what we look at, what we eat every day, there's countless processes that have to go on in order for us to be eating anything. And so to me, the way to move forward is to try and remove as many of those processes as possible, and put those processes in people's hands. Just like you said, put your hands in the dirt, and that the more people who touch dirt, the more possible it is we get to continue to have dirt and to continue to grow things. And I don't think there's another way. I really don't.
Big question.
How can young people get involved in prompting food equity in the neighborhood?
I think the young people can get involved. Well, if you're in North Minneapolis, you can apply to be one of our youth at Appetite for Change. We hire through the summer, and we hire in the summer, but it's a year-round, 2-year program. And so you could be a young person that's helping us at those 18 community cooks events. You can be helping us package 140 meal boxes for 25 weeks. You can be on the helping us promote our podcast, Food Mood the World. You can be helping us do our second round of our cookbook. And so we have some exciting things, and our young people, I don't want to call them our labor force, but since 14 years ago, they declared the youth are the truth and said that if we're not teaching young people how to grow and cook their own food, we're doing a disservice. So although we have these other programs, we like to let youth lead there. I believe that we gave young people, I don't believe that you give people power. I don't believe you can motivate people. I think people have intrinsic motivation and they have inherent dignity and worth. And so when we gave young people a space where they could communicate their power, that you just can't take it back. And so the generations that have came after those youth in 2014, Jesse, Latasia, Trey, Chevy, Savion, Princess Anne, like all the Dash, all those young people have created that ripple in culture where they're going to cook and eat and be at the table and be heard by grown-ups in any area that they're in. And so we've continued that with our programming. So please come join us at Appetite for Change if you're interested in, if you don't have your thing yet. Like you kind of like wrestling, but you like food, or you don't, you draw, but you also like food, because the food you eat can help you be a better athlete. And also we need creativity when it comes to artistic expression, when it comes to how we market our programming to young people. Thank you.
You saying that, Princess, reminds me of a saying. We never really grow up. We just learn how to act in public. And I've noticed that about a lot of supposed adults, and sometimes myself included, that I'm just faking it. So if you don't live in North Minneapolis, if you can't make it over to Appetite for Change, remember what Princess said. Your empowerment is important. You already have the power. You don't have to look to me or any adult to be empowered. And if the adults in your life aren't supporting you, some of them, they're scared of kids being empowered. Some adults want nothing to do with an empowered kid. And there are names for kids who are empowered. Smart ass, things like that. So, if the first adult in your life, whether it's at home or at school, doesn't react in a caring way to your empowerment, look for another one. And keep looking until you find that empowering adult, or that adult finds you. Allow yourself to be supported. You deserve it.
Thank you.
So true. Like I said, with Sisters, we're volunteer run, and actually we're one of a few. I don't know that there is any that I can think of where we encourage children to come and be a part of everything. We have children in the bus. We have children at food distribution, at food shares. I have 3 kids. I could do nothing if my children were not allowed to be a part of everything I do. I keep my kids. We educate our kids at home, and so with Sisters, we do all sorts of different programming throughout the year. We're going to have sort of a young chefs thing where we go to different schools and we drive the bus there and they come through, and there's different ways of doing it, but definitely we realize that there is no future without the kids. I call my family, all of us that are a little older, I call us old meat. Which I feel like is a little irreverent, but it's also just kind of true. It's like if we're not doing things to help and facilitate and guide the young ones into being able to know what it is that they're capable of. It's like, for me, it's like I get to know young people. That's my job. I have to get to know my kids. They came here very specific. People are not a blank slate. You know, everybody comes here and they're who they are when they're born. And yeah, we grow and we change and stuff, but like in my opinion, that's the best way to do it, is moving forward and is like creating as many spaces where young people feel okay about being who they really are, and that's without that, if they're trying to fit themselves into some kind of box, then it's going to hamper their ability to grow, just the way you try and grow a tomato in a box. It'll be square shaped. You know what I'm saying? Like that's what shape it will be. But like, what shape was it supposed to be? Hard to say, you know? And so yeah, I just think that we need to, that's certainly what we do at Sisters. We just create a space. All kids are welcome to come volunteer, and all kids are welcome to come learn how to cook on the bus every single time. And so people sign their kids up all the time. It's run by everybody that's there, and a lot of those people are children, so.
Yeah. Thank you. Okay, now we have a very important question. That's our final question. Right?
Okay. What one change would you like to see in your community with regard to food?
Thank you.
I'll jump on that one. I want to see my neighbors raising food in their yards. I want to see gardens up and down. I've had a garden in my yard for 32 years, so I want to see other people picking up on that. I want to see community gardens on empty lots. I want to see community gardens in city parks. There are a few. I want to see people working together to feed themselves and each other. To me, when people raise their own food, the sense of empowerment that's down inside is, how to put it, it can't be denied. It's so incredible and deep to raise your own food?
Yeah, it's too hard to put into a nutshell. There's a lot of things I want to see change with the way that food is in the world, but I think just education, just having people understand how it is that something happens, like food, any food. Just knowing anything about any of the food we eat changes. When I've explained how various things are made to people who just don't know how something's made, whether it's, I don't know, a sun-dried tomato, or I don't know, how tea, for instance, tea is a really good example. Black tea, green tea, white tea, all those things. It's the same plant, you know, and there's just a bunch of different ways that they grow it, different times a year they pick it. It's like everything about food is that way, where there's traditions that are as old as people. And I think, like I've said pretty repetitively all night, removing the processes from things and bringing people closer to the practical work of how it is that you remove those processes, it really simplifies things to be able to have an onion in your garden. It's good that we have access to all the things and we can get anything anytime. I can press 3 buttons on my computer and bam, you know, within a day I got something at my house. That's crazy and cool in some ways, but like, it's not better than just going to my yard or learning how to can. It's not better. It's just different. It's just like, oh, 2025. I don't know. And so, yeah, I just think exactly like you said, Jimbo, growing things, knowing how things happen in the food world, understanding, like, when you're in a restaurant, how is it possible that you can be sitting in that restaurant? Think about it. What had to happen in order for you to be there? There's a lot of answers. It's a long list of things.
Can I add something to that, Cole?
Do it.
Yeah. So, talking about inviting kids to cook with you on the bus, teaching people how to raise their own food. We live in a culture in this country that some people call the patriarchy, some people call white body supremacy. It's all the same thing. I call it the man. And the more that we do like you said, that is, learn how things work, the more that we raise our own food, the more that we treat kids like people, the more we undermine that oppressive system that wants to suck us dry.
You want to drop the mic? Don't drop it. It's expensive equipment. Thank you both for that. And we're going to talk after this. I have to get to know you a little more. But you both helped me shape up what be the one thing I would like to see regarding changing my community regarding to food. And when we started cooking, eating, and talking, we were talking about the foodscape of North Minneapolis. And so right now we sit, I don't know how close we are to Rondo, and Rondo represents some areas in a lot of urban areas where Black people stood on the shoulders of people in Tulsa and had businesses, like a lot of businesses, and had that area taken from them and had their landscape created for them to stay in a certain situation. And so how close we are to Rondo, all those businesses were lost. North Minneapolis, there was supposed to be a freeway built like Highway 55. Never happened, but there's not lots of businesses there. Then we had King's grocery store, we had New Market, we had all these grocery stores, and now we have 67,000 people sharing one full service grocery store in North Minneapolis, and we have 38 fast food restaurants. The foodscape was different when the community was for Jewish people. And so how do we individually hold ourselves accountable to vote with our dollars? How do we create that type of social change to the point where our friends believe that food is that important, and so they they create food-based businesses, and then it counters that economic deprivation that's so intentionally set in front of people of color and poor people on a plate. Like, when do we have 38 local restaurants up and down the corridor of West Broadway? When do we have Heel Minneapolis on Broadway, and another Breaking Bread Cafe, and Shantae's Place, and Camden? And because there's like out of those 38 fast food restaurants, like 17 of them are fried chicken joints. And none of them are like, hey, did you see that new fried chicken joint that opened up? Like, they don't even feel like they're in competition with each other. But because of the psychological trauma poor communities or black communities have endured, we often see our work as competition for each other. So I need 3 more Sammys on Broadway. I want to be able to have a plethora of real food for real people up and down the foodscape of the corridor of West Broadway. That would be the one thing I would like to see change. Thank you for asking.
Thank you. Want to say something?
I wanted to add one thing, which is that this country is built on a very silent genocide of folks who are already here, as well, and I would like to add that to something that I personally would love to see in my lifetime. I would love to see a bridge be built, if there still can be one, between the practices that people had before we came here, before, you know, anybody from anywhere else came here. There were so many brilliant traditions already in place, so many brilliant agricultural practices, so many brilliant recipes that have been lost, languages that have been lost. And Minneapolis does a better job than a lot of cities taking care of its First Nations folks. And still there's a lot of work to be done around that. And just that's my personal wish for this area, is to see that flourish even more than it does. Even though it's better than any other city I've ever seen. You guys have actual restaurants where you could get food from First Nations folks in First Nation recipes. It's unheard of. It's so incredible. But there can be no end to that, in my opinion, nationwide.
Okay, one more time. Thank you, everyone, for being here. I hope you liked this episode. Like me, I really appreciate talking with you. Who I say again, you have a really importance in this thing. Every one of you have a different thing or different way of help people. I really appreciate it.
Keep on breaking the rules.
Thank you.
Okay. See you next time. Thank you for being here. That's the power of food, the first episode in the year. Thank you.